Breaking news today. 2 hospital workers in California face charges after they physically blocked federal agents from making an immigration arrest outside a surgery center. This incident raises critical questions. Is this an act of principled defiance, or does it represent a dangerous challenge to the rule of law and our national borders?
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
Fox News exclusively reports that hospital workers who obstructed an ICE arrest are now facing federal charges. Consider this: what occurs when those tasked with healing choose to defy the law? In California, 2 medical professionals physically prevented federal agents from executing an immigration arrest, resulting in serious federal charges against them. This case goes beyond a single incident. It represents a significant challenge to the rule of law, spurred by years of radical policies and activist rhetoric from the previous Democratic administration. Under President Trump's leadership, the message is unequivocal. Our borders and laws are important, and no one, regardless of their purported noble intentions, is immune from the consequences of compromising American sovereignty. Why has defending our nation's laws become a subject of controversy? Let's get into this.
Sandra. Well, this incident happened on July 8th in Ontario, about 30 miles east of Los Angeles. According to the criminal complaint, ICE officers were conducting, quote, roving immigration-related operations when they followed a truck that made a sharp turn into the parking lot of a surgery center. The officers then, quote, decided to conduct a consensual encounter with the 3 adult males who were inside the truck.
Federal law enforcement has the right and duty to enforce our immigration laws wherever that may be, even if it's a surgery center parking lot just outside Los Angeles. When officers conduct lawful operations, interference, particularly physical assault on agents, is not just civil disobedience or a noble act of resistance. It's a direct attack on the rule of law and our national sovereignty. These medical workers didn't just voice concerns or ask questions. They physically intervened, grabbing at an officer's vest and shouting demands, while the person they were protecting wasn't even a patient at the facility. Such interference stems from local activists and left-wing politicians promoting defiance of federal laws, creating chaos, undermining public safety, and suggesting that some are above the law with the right political support. The previous administration's sanctuary policies and constant criticism of ICE contributed to this lawlessness, prioritizing the interest of non-citizens and radical activists over the safety and security of American communities. Now, the current administration is returning to common sense. Assaulting a federal officer or obstructing an arrest will lead to prosecution regardless of one's job title or political leanings. The vast majority of Americans support secure borders and expect immigration laws to be enforced. Considering the broader context, ICE and CBP's efforts in rescuing children from human trafficking and arresting violent criminals at illegal grow sites in California. It's clear that robust immigration enforcement protects the vulnerable and keeps our communities safe. The Democratic Party and some media outlets continue to portray law enforcement as villains and lawbreakers as heroes. This issue isn't about compassion or community safety. It's about maintaining our nation's integrity. National borders are more than mere lines on a map. They are the bedrock of our sovereignty. When activists and local officials undermine federal authority, they're not just breaking the law. They're eroding the principles that bind our country. Both political parties have long failed to repair our broken immigration system, but it is particularly the left that has sought to delegitimize enforcement efforts. We cannot let a patchwork of local resistance override federal law. The path to restoring order is clear. Interference with immigration enforcement will have consequences. This stance isn't about politics. It's about protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution.
Both were warned by the officer that they should not touch a federal agent. The illegal immigrant was eventually arrested and removed from the surgery center. Immigration activists said at the time the surgery staff did nothing wrong.
In no way are they intervening. They're simply exercising the right to.
This episode illustrates the chaos and confusion stemming from inconsistent immigration enforcement over the years. Despite clear warnings against interfering with a federal operation, the staff intervened. Prompting activists to claim a defense of privacy rights, the facts expose that the individual involved was not a patient, and the staff's actions exceeded simple requests for documentation. This issue goes beyond privacy. It questions the enforceability of federal law amid coordinated resistance from activist groups and local institutions. The Democratic Party and its allies have long undermined immigration enforcement, fostering an environment where federal officers are viewed more as intruders than law enforcers. This issue extends beyond California, affecting the nation as sanctuary policies and local non-cooperation with ICE contribute to a legal gray area, severely hindering the effectiveness of immigration agents. This sets a perilous precedent where opposition to federal law is justified by purported higher principles like privacy or community safety, allowing for the physical obstruction of law enforcement without consequences. The current administration's zero-tolerance policy is a crucial response to this long-standing neglect and politicization. Assaults or obstructions against federal officers must carry significant consequences, irrespective of the perpetrator's profession or intentions. Failing to enforce this could normalize selective law enforcement, influenced by political convenience and local agendas over national priorities. The ongoing push by the left for open borders and the undermining of immigration enforcement contrasts sharply with the Republican Party's efforts under President Trump to restore order and emphasize the importance of borders, sovereignty, and the rule of law. If policymakers had effectively managed their responsibilities, confrontations involving medical staff, teachers, or city employees could have been avoided. The responsibility lies with those who have favored globalist ideals and political appearances over the safety and security of American citizens. As we approach the next election cycle, these incidents represent more than isolated disputes. They are a critical evaluation of whether the United States will continue as a sovereign nation with enforceable laws or devolve into chaos and selective enforcement. The American public overwhelmingly supports secure borders and consistent law enforcement, signaling a clear directive for policymakers to align with their constituents' wishes.
In other words, say an illegal immigrant is arrested for assault with a deadly weapon, and he goes into the LA County jail, and ICE puts a detainer on him and says, hey, if he makes bail, we'd like you to hand him over to us, or at least tell us when he's going to be released. California's sanctuary state law says you can't work with ICE, so would you obey that, or what would your policy be?
When an individual is arrested for a violent felony, such as assault with a deadly weapon, and ICE issues a detainer, federal agents expect to take custody upon the individual's release from jail. California's sanctuary state law often prevents local officials from cooperating with ICE, even when public safety is at risk. This law prohibits local police and sheriffs from holding suspects for ICE, sharing release dates, or informing ICE about an impending release unless the individual has certain convictions or the information is public. Supporters argued that this protects communities, but in reality, it hampers federal law enforcement and compromises the safety of law-abiding citizens. Fox News has extensively covered these sanctuary policies, underscoring the public safety risks and the impact on families of victims of crimes committed by offenders protected from deportation. Their reports, enriched with interviews from law enforcement, victims, and experts, highlight the real-world consequences of these policies. The coverage could benefit from a deeper legal analysis to better capture the complex dynamics between federal, state, and local authorities, and the nuances of relevant court rulings. Visually, Fox News uses graphics effectively to illustrate the number of ignored detainers and the increase in crime associated with sanctuary policies, helping viewers understand the magnitude of the issue. Including more balanced panels with local officials who support these laws could provide a more complete view and expose the flaws in their arguments. The debate often appears as a binary choice between open borders and strict enforcement, but most Americans desire secure borders along with a fair and consistent application of the law, a priority for the current administration. The previous administration under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris weakened immigration enforcement and criticized ICE agents, exacerbating the problems and encouraging local defiance of federal laws. Both political parties have neglected the broken immigration system for years, but the left has particularly undermined enforcement and promoted policies that prioritize ideology over public safety. National borders and immigration laws are essential for sovereignty. When local officials refuse to cooperate with federal enforcement, they compromise the nation's foundation. Fox News is correct to focus on these issues, but should dig in deeper into the legal and constitutional aspects and challenge policymakers to justify how their positions safeguard the American people. The issue is not just about compassion for those seeking a better life, but about maintaining the rule of law and not sacrificing it for political expediency.
Well, one thing is we're going to start enforcing the law. We're going to hire 2,000 deputies in 2 years to get us back to full strength. And we're going to go out there and do the things we were doing before when we cleaned up Venice at the beach. We had Brentwood in front of the VA Center, Plaza Olvera in downtown L.A. We were successful working with local law enforcement, working with local government, be it the city of L.A. or small police or municipal cities, cleaning up their homeless encampments, getting people into the shelters. And actually, it kind of is a tough love. Okay, it's time to move on, get out. We have a shelter for you, but you cannot have a way of life of just occupying public spaces and declaring it as your own. And that's what has to change.
Okay. Former LA County Sheriff Alex Villanueva now seeking to be the new sheriff of LA County once again in 2020.
Restoring order and enforcing the law is crucial not only for public safety, but also for economic stability and responsible use of taxpayer dollars. When law enforcement is adequately staffed and empowered to manage encampments in areas like Brentwood, the VA, Centra and downtown Los Angeles, immediate relief is evident for local businesses and residents. These actions clear public spaces, reduce property damage, and help reclaim neighborhoods overwhelmed by unchecked homelessness and activist-driven chaos. The financial consequences of failing to enforce the law are significant. For instance, consider the hundreds of canceled appointments at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center due to unrest and vandalism, which forced a shutdown for days. This situation is more than an inconvenience for veterans. It's a direct hit to the local economy. Each missed appointment means wasted resources, lost wages for workers, and delayed care for those who have already sacrificed for our country. When city officials allow protests and lawlessness to disrupt essential services, taxpayers inevitably bear the costs of repairs, overtime, and lost productivity. For families and small businesses, these disruptions lead to higher costs and greater uncertainty. Imagine a family-owned shop near Placo Alvera or Brentwood, already struggling with inflation, now facing broken windows and declining foot traffic because city leaders refuse to support law enforcement. Consider the veterans who rely on the VA. Center for Critical Care, now forced to reschedule or travel farther, sometimes at their own expense, because local politicians prioritize virtue signaling over maintaining order. From a broader economic perspective, failing to enforce immigration and vagrancy laws undermines property values, discourages investment, and erodes the tax base. When public spaces are occupied by encampments and crime goes unchecked, insurance rates climb, and new businesses hesitate to open their doors. This ripple effect impacts every sector from real estate to healthcare to retail. Contrast this with the outcomes when law enforcement is supported and allowed to do its job. Neighborhoods become safer, property values recover, and businesses begin to thrive again. The city saves millions in emergency response and cleanup costs, allowing public services to focus on long-term solutions rather than constant crisis management. It's a return to common sense. Enforcing the law benefits everyone except those who profit from disorder. The previous administration's policies enabled this dysfunction by prioritizing activist demands over the needs of working families and veterans. This approach led to economic stagnation, wasted resources, and a breakdown of trust between citizens and their government. The current direction, hiring more deputies, restoring order, and holding everyone accountable under the law, is the only path to a sustainable recovery for Los Angeles County and beyond. For households, this means safer neighborhoods, more reliable public services, and a stronger local economy. For taxpayers, it means their money is finally being used to protect their interests, not to subsidize chaos. And for the nation, it is a reminder that sovereignty and prosperity go hand in hand. When we defend our laws and our borders, we defend our economic future. Well, there you have it. Tonight, we witness the consequences when the rule of law is disregarded by those sworn to uphold it. Consider hospital workers blocking federal agents from enforcing immigration laws. This isn't civil disobedience or heroism, it's chaos. Such behavior stems from a previous administration that promoted open defiance of our borders, undermining national sovereignty. Under President Trump, the current administration recognizes that a nation without borders ceases to be a nation. To maintain a country that serves its citizens, we must enforce our laws without exceptions or apologies. The critical question remains, how long will we allow elites to prioritize global approval over American stability? The answer is clear, not one day longer. Leave a comment below and don't forget to like and subscribe. That's all for now.